In this section, I'd like to have a look at how we handle speech errors. Suppose in some situation you heard someone say, "Would anyone like a cup of coffee?" Did anyone notice that I said coffee instead of coffee? And even if you did you have any problem in understanding the meaning of the sentence? Probably not. And this type of speech error isn't all that uncommon, and quite often we don't even notice the errors. So what's going on? Let's think about the situation just after you've heard the mispronounced word, but before there's been any indirect activation of visual columns in response to the word. There's receptive field detections in response to the sounds making up the word. These are driving receptive field detections in response to the phonemes. Then there's some receptive field detections in the discriminates words area. There are combinations of the phoneme detections. On the other hand, those detections in the discriminates words area may not be the most common set detected in response to the word coffee because the word has been mispronounced. So those columns may not generate the best recommendation strengths for indirect activation of visual columns. But there's some additional indirect activation recommendation strengths that are also available. There's a column population in the discriminates objects area that was activated in response to hearing the word cup, and perhaps a prolonged population of in the auditory discriminates words area as well. Because you've often heard the word coffee just after the word cup in the past, those columns activated in response to cup could have some recommendation strengths in favor of activating the columns that correspond with coffee in that same discriminates objects area. But of course, because you've also heard the phrase cup of tea or cup of water in the past, there are recommendation strengths in favor of those as well. Activated columns in this area, activated in response to the combination of cup and of, could have some similar recommendation strengths. And other active column populations, like this one, could have similar but weaker recommendation strengths, along with many others, of course. You may have been asked if you'd like many different things in the past. So there's actually quite a lot of columns with a bit of recommendation strength in favor of activation of columns in the discriminates visual objects area that correspond with coffee. So, although the recommendation strengths of the columns in the discriminates words area in favor of coffee, visual activation, are a bit weaker because of the mispronunciation, that particular recommendation is reinforced by receptive field detections in all the other areas, and the predominant recommendation strength will still probably be in favor of the appropriate discriminates objects columns. So the behavioral ambiguity of column receptive field detections allows significant error correction.